In order for me, this is a continuation from video part 1. In order for me to be free from this turmoil and these patterns of destructive behaviors that someone would get close in a relationship, I'd push them away. I'd have my commitment issues. I'd start freaking out, like, oh, when am I gonna again, look at the addiction. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay committed to this person. I'm going to want to sleep around, and I'm going to cheat on them, and then I'm going to break their heart. You see, like, there's even an addiction to the neuroses or the neuroticism of that, right? Like, I had no trust in myself. I had no trust that I could love somebody full. And one of my partners told me, and this girlfriend, one thing that really floored me was when she said, we were having an argument, and she goes, you know, Jacob, your problem is that you think you don't deserve love. And that was just, I didn't even know what to say. It took me a year or two to unpackage that and start finding where she was correct. And that's when I started the path of self-love, meditation, self-nurturing, and started working with mentors to go deeper than I was going. You see, I was doing a lot of the good things to work out and getting in good shape and self-regulation and all that by default. Like it was like operating system 1.0 was still running, and I knew it was great, right? And it was giving me great results. But on an inner level, on my soul level, on inner validations, on just not trying to be better than others or not trying to look better than others, and feeling like, okay, well, at least, you know, I'm in shape, and hey, you know, like, in other words, there was still external validations validating me and my self-esteem. It wasn't coming from an inner part within me. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, it's kind of freaking me out on some level that I'm being, you know, just divulging all of my information just on video, just like this. I'm gonna put on YouTube for the whole world to see, and I'll share it with people that I care about, people that I hope don't think of me less or whatever. But it's just, there comes a point where after enough healing and enough facing reality, enough wanting to go to the next level, it's like we want to leave behind the past. So we start just saying, okay, that was me back then, and this is what I'm committing to now. And I think that's what this is. It's like this path to committing to healing going forward and having enough distance from what was the person I was back then to who I am now. You know, and in that separation, I say this is more like the adult version of Jacob. And I'm going to go into what that means here in a bit, okay? So after seeing, you know, hitting that kind of rock bottom in 2012 and deciding to go into meditation, I subscribed to lessons by Paramahansa Yogananda, started studying lessons in spirituality, and going to the deep self and understanding the concept of a relationship with God and things like this. Yogananda puts it as the divine romance. And I wrote a book called Your Divine Romance, Bold Action, Meditation, and Pure Love. And as you can see here, you know, that book was the stepping stone to a video like this, right? Like just coming out and being bold and, you know, coming from a place of love and sincerity and effort and trial and just seeing what is real, seeing how I can engage with the ether of being a human being in 2017 going into 2018, right? And that's where I'm at, right? And that came from wanting to heal back in 2012. So a decision I made 5 years ago, you say it's blossoming at this stage now, so where I can start talking about addictions and my problems with codependency, my problems with monogamy. I saw my parents break up or go through a divorce. I was like, well, so I'm now coming to the surface and just letting it all on the table and saying, okay, look, this is what happened then. I'm an adult. What are we going to do now? And coming in more from a place of sobriety and adult attitude versus like a teenager that doesn't want to face, you know, that I was like still a teenager, didn't want to face what I needed to face. I didn't want to face, okay, so how am I going to man up or be an adult or commit or find my soulmate and decide if I'm going to want to have kids, and how am I going to go about that and face these really tough questions? Because at some point you find yourself, well, look, dude, I mean, I'm not going to be dating, you know, women that are so young that they want to talk on this like immature level, and a mature woman is going to want me to be more mature herself. And then what is maturity? Is it Are you still going to want to sleep around and be mature? Like, so you start asking these more advanced questions that need you to step up to the plate and look really deep within yourself and in the mirror and start looking at meditation and self-regulating behavior and some of the things. And that's exactly what's happened over the course of 5 years. I would say I'm no longer codependent. I've been single for 3 years. All my ex-girlfriends, we're on good standards. Like, we're on good terms. I think 2 of them are married. And the last one I had, my last girlfriend, she's, still dealing with some of her stuff, but, I love her as a person and I wish the best for her, and she knows that. But, the romance is no longer there. And so there's a lot of healing that's occurred in the last 5 years, in the last 3 specifically. So does that make some sense that I feel like I'm such a very fertile place right now where, like, let's just say you right now watching this video, let's just say you hate it. Okay, so you love it. Great. So I'm very fertile, and after I'm done with this video, I'll go make some eggs and put a little cheese in them and, get ready for bed. And that's fine. And that's good. I'll wake up early and continue with my life. I don't have a perfect life. I just have a life that I love, and a life that I'm willing to put work in and fight for and strategize in and bring some sobriety into. And those are the biggest victories I've had. Have I had great victories in regards to some things that people might like a car, house, great relationships, great stories, and great parties? Yeah, I've had that. I'm just saying that going forward, though, my biggest wins at this stage of my life are having enough healing to know that I'm grown up now, and talking on that level, and knowing when I'm not acting from a grown-up place, knowing, okay, this is that I can identify now, that's my teenage behavior. And when you start kind of separating your teenage behavior from your adult behavior, that's a pretty good stage. And what I'm going to be going into today is exactly that. So if you've waited this long, you've watched the video this long, I really applaud you and thank you. I promise to make this more important and valuable for you than any Netflix video. Because if you can understand these concepts and apply them and see how they correlate to you in your life, you're really going to like what they do for you. Addictions, when we think about them, let's say prior to the year 2000, right? I used to think like just, the junkie that puts a needle in his arm and things like this, and, just some like person that's really let their life go, and person with purple lips and stuff like that, stealing things for crack. That's what I used to think about when I saw an addict, and many people did. You might even think that. Now we know that addiction comes in many forms. Seeking validation from everyone and not having enough self-esteem from within. That's like you could say most people have that. It's not that uncommon. Codependency, a lot of people have that. The addiction to feel better than others, or having a big ego or narcissism, is a type of addiction. And then we can get into more tangible things like food, eating, sugar, pizza, lust and pornography. We could get into marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy. You get the idea. So we know that addictions come in many forms now, and that perhaps is one of the biggest revelations that we can understand. In the Bible it says that you first honor God above all things, and you could say that an addiction in many ways is a form of honoring other things before God, or having other things rule you and worshiping them. So addictions in many ways is a type of slavery that's almost self-imposed. And so it's a very powerful idea. So be careful with addictions, first and foremost. And if you need counseling and professional counseling, there's many options like online. But first, let me get into how to deal with an addiction, or how to identify one. Think about I told you about my teenage story for a reason. At that time, I told you about my drug experimentations and stuff like this. Ask yourself, identify the adaptive adolescent in you. Identify your adaptive adolescent. And in your life, as an adult, ask yourself, who's in the driver's seat? Okay? What does it help you avoid? Okay? Adaptive adolescent behavior, in other words, is, for me, like I said, it was not ever wanting to settle down and wanting to be promiscuous or have several partners. That's a type of adaptive adolescence, a type of adolescent behavior. Does that make some sense? So in other words, that's something I acquired, something I thought about as a teenager, and that kept playing in my head like a record, and I kept consuming and believing that idea all my life. It's a story I kept telling myself. I said, well, you know, my parents messed up, so marriages aren't going to work. And so since marriages aren't going to work, I'm going to sleep around with other people and I'm never going to settle down. See, that's something I created, that almost like a blister or a callus. I adapted to the stress of seeing my parents break up, and I thought, I'll never find a pure love. I'll never find a soulmate. It's all BS. It's all a game. It's all just whatever it is. So let me just be non-monogamous. Does that make some sense? I feel aroused, and so I kept tapping into that teenage body, that teenage mind of dealing with hormones, dealing with sexual frustrations, dealing with and validations through sex and stuff like that. So that was me as a teenager, and that was an adaptive adolescent behavior. Same thing with anything, like, hey, you know what, how do you consider do you do things to be cool? Like, I can guarantee you this video here is absolutely nothing to be cool. Like, it's probably the most uncool video a person can make. It's cool in the respect that it's an adult video, and being an adult is cool, but it's really not cool. I think when I think of cool, I think of like going to Taylor Swift concerts and, like, I don't know, dating Taylor Swift or something. I think that's cool. I think that would be cool. You know what I mean?